Over the weekend, I took a trip to my favorite spot around here, around my town. It's called the Black Diamond Mines, and it's a multitude of hills around a valley area. And there are a few things that I want to show you and explain how you can shoot midday. Because you probably heard a lot of photographers saying midday it's not the best, moment in time to shoot photos. Though when I want to document something, for me the light only matters if it can, lead my subject. And if I want to document something more and more and go back and shoot the same scene, I'm choosing different times of the day to make sure that the image that I'm producing out of that, let's say, environment is the one that I really like. And like I said, I'm expecting to publish a book. I'm not sure if it's going to be by the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022, but maybe it's going to be faster than I'm expecting, because I'm gathering a lot of photos about this beautiful town that I'm living in. These Black Diamond Mines are actually next to the town that I'm living. That's not part of my town, but they're part of the environment and everything that happens here. What I use is the Fujifilm XE3 with the 200mm f4, the Nikon lens. This is a vintage lens that we talked about in our previous Vintage Dreams series, and I'm gonna put the video up here in case you wanna look and see how this lens performs. But I think you should be more happy to see how it performs in Lightroom. So let's get into Lightroom and see how these photos look after I edited a little bit of them, and how this lens performs on an APS-C sensor like the Fujifilm XE3, which for some might be considered vintage already because the XE4 has been released. For me, it's still a great camera, and this will probably prove it. Okay, so here we are in Lightroom. These are the photos that I'm gonna show you. There are 17 photos, but don't worry about it. I'm not gonna stay much on every photo. I'm just gonna show you exactly how this lens performs in mid-sun and different apertures. It'll probably show you f0, and that's because there are no electronic contacts that will tell the camera what aperture you're using. Also, it's probably going to say 135 because I forgot to change the focal length in the camera, the manual focal length that you're setting up, for having it right here in the metadata. So it's 135, but actually I shoot with the 200 f4. This is a photo that my daughter shot just pre-trip. It's a portrait that she shot with my XE3 and the 27mm f2.8, my favorite lens, as you can tell right here. It's 1/160th of a second. It's a great portrait that she actually did very well. Just managed to do everything perfectly. If you can tell that I only cropped the sides because she shot on horizontally instead of vertically, which should be more appropriate for a portrait. But if you look at it, she did good, perfect. She did amazing, actually. And the camera wasn't on auto. It was set up by me with some settings, and she grabbed it and then choose the exposure and everything else. I love this portrait that she did. Then I grabbed the camera and did one on her as well, very close up, just a head shot for her beautiful eyes. I love these eyes, and they're blue, and in black and white. Blue eyes look very, very sharp, and they're popping out. So I do love this photo as well. So this one were like I said, pre-trip, as well as this one when she was jumping in the house. And I used the 27mm to grab this photo, which is a bit, let's say, maybe too crowded in the background, because it was our playing room, and there are all kinds of stuff that they interfere with the subject. So black and white looks pretty good. There were a lot of colors that were basically distract you from looking at it. And another one on the other side, this one is a bit more blown out because I wanted to go towards a high key photo. It looks good. I love it. I love the moment she was jumping and she didn't realize. In the first one, she actually didn't realize that I was doing this, and then when she realized she was posing, her actually tongue is out, so she was messing with me. But as you can tell, this one is 6400 ISO, and the grain is actually very nice. It's more like a filmy grain. But let's get to the photos of the trip. These were all shot with the 200 millimeter at f4, f5.6, f8, f11, I believe. And as you can tell, it says 105, not 135. My fault, because I was setting the camera to 105 for my old Nikon 105, and I forgot to change that. It says f1.0, it's actually f8, I believe, this one, or f11. Nonetheless, you can tell that there is a lot of detail. It's not perfect, and it's a bit mushy. If we're getting the loading, yeah, so it's a bit mushy right here. But these guys are sharp and nice. And the guy was actually shooting a photo and showing to his girlfriend. I love this. It's my style to basically shoot everything super wide and have my subject small in a corner or in the middle or somewhere to show the, let's say, dimensions and the area that the subject was exploring. The second one is just a landscape that I shoot handheld, and you can tell I have some spots on my filter right here, or they might be in the lens, maybe a little bit of a dust because I was shooting f11, and again, a very, very good sharpness for this old lens. There's a lot of detail. You can tell these guys right here, it's a couple that they were holding each other. So I believe that's this beautiful. Even those people on the trail, you can say that they had trekking poles and backpacks and the color of their clothes. These are shot probably 1.5 mile away, probably something like that, maybe 1 mile, 1.5 mile away from me. So they're very far, and I do love the colors and this gradient, this pastel gradient that right now California is encountering in the spring. Next one is just a guy who is walking his dog, and I do love a little bit of mystery in my photos. This is him walking his dog. You can tell that he has a leash. The focus was missed, and I did miss the focus a lot. Probably this would have been f4. I was trying to make a little bit of a separation with these trees in the back. The focus is right here, as you can tell, and I missed it probably by a couple of feet, maybe 3-4 feet. It's not bad. I like the photo. I like the fact that he's wearing this yellow beanie that matches the colors and this yellowish green on the vegetation. Now, this one is a hiking portrait of my wife and my daughter. I didn't crop anything on it. I just shoot the photo with the 200 millimeter. I think it was f5.6, and you can tell the sharpness on my wife's face. It's beautiful. The mask, you can see the stitching, you can see everything, as well as on my daughter's, which was a little bit behind. So that's why I said this one was shot at f4, because you can tell the separation is already present here. But I do love the colors, and I do love, again, the pastel colors that come out of this lens. Beautiful, beautiful lens. This one is shot in the Rose Hill Cemetery, which is on top of a hill. You're doing a pretty severe hiking to get here. It's short, but it's pretty inclined. The ramp is pretty inclined, and I would say that it's nice to take it just to see this cemetery. This is a cemetery for those who died in the mines here, as well as their kids. It's a very sad story, and I am trying to document this more and more. You can tell the sharpness is beautiful. It's there. There is nothing to say. I love this composition with the stone and the funeral stone, as well as this rose in between. The colors, the earth colors, are beautiful. These are other funeral stones. This is for this guy, which was, I think, the other Jones, who died in 1875, as well at the age of 45, as well as 2 infant children with him, because they were getting sick of, I think it was plague or cholera or something. But the adults were dying because of the mines and the conditions that they were working in. Again, this is a portrait presentation of that landscape that you saw before, and I like these humps, these hills that they look like 2 humps, like a camel hump, and as well as the trail that winds all the way to the top of it. I do love the fact that I only have one guy here, which is pretty sharp. If this loads, as you can tell that he has two dogs next to him, and that's amazing. Another group here coming down. These are just, you know, travel photos, they're not landscapes. Then a little bit of wildlife. This is a I think it's called sagebrush. It's a sagebrush brush lizard that has a blue belly. I think you're gonna see it. I'm not sure if I have the other photo. When his belly or her belly is kind of blue on the sides, they're beautiful. They have these turquoise and green accents on their backs, and the scales are looking amazingly sharp. Beautiful, beautiful sharpness of this lens. And this was, I think, shot as the closest focal distance, probably around 3.5-4 feet, something like that. Then we have these beautiful birds. I don't exactly recall the name right now. I know the birds, but I don't recall the name. I think they're warblers, some sort of warblers. And again, another one that is, you can tell, super sharp. The eye is very sharp. It's like the camera focused on the eye, and just behind her, probably, I don't know, 5 inches behind, was this fence, this weird rusted fence that actually looks very good, and I love the composition on this one. I actually cropped it, I think, a little bit. It was different. Yeah, so I cropped it in the middle because I grabbed the camera fast, and I wanted to make sure that I'm getting the photo. Now, this is probably my favorite photo of this trip, of this adventure. Is this tree that looks like the tree of life. And if you look at the bark and the branches where the focus point is, I think I shoot this one at 5.6. Maybe I should have raised it up to f11 to get more in focus. But it looks beautiful. I love the green. I love these earth tones on the bark. It looks beautiful and I love it. Probably this is gonna be my next print. And again, a warbler. I love the composition with the no parking sign here and the warbler parked. You can tell it's super sharp, super sharp. I love it. I hope that YouTube won't destroy the resolution of these photos and the sharpness, so you can tell how good it is. As you can tell, there is a little bit of a color fringing right here because the sun was super bright, as well as around these screws. I can easily fix that if I want to. I can go in lens correction, and because it's a manual lens, there is no profile. I can just choose if I want to, maybe a Nikon long lens, let's say. It says 105 because I set it up to 105, but I'm gonna go to let's say 200 f2, and it doesn't do much, so I'm gonna have to go in manual and just remove this color fringing. I think this is pretty good, and that's it. We're done with the color fringing. Everything looks nice and sharp. So it is possible, don't worry about that. Color fringing in all lenses as well as chromatic aberrations are pretty natural because the coating they were using, it's not that amazing. It's not the one that we're using these days. And the last photo is this guy coming down on a side of the hill, which wasn't a trail, and there were a lot of park rangers around, so I hope he didn't get in trouble, though it is pretty dangerous. Like I said, these are pretty steep downhills, and you should be very careful, especially when you're going outside in the nature, especially in the spring and in fall, when there are all kinds of animals mating. There are snakes and all kinds of crazy bugs, and if you're not careful, I mean, he's well dressed with these jeans on and their long pants, so it's fine, but it is dangerous for you and for your health to just come down all the way through all these rocks, and if you might fall and end up in a hospital, so be very careful when you're going outside. So these are the photos that I shot this weekend with the 200mm f4 from Nikon and the Fujifilm XE3, my favorite APS-C camera to take out. It's not the most amazing setup because the 200mm, it's a bit big, it's a bit bulky, it's heavy, it's metal, it's normal, it's an old lens that will probably hold you a lifetime if you take care of it. You might have a little bit of a color fringing, and like I said, the color correction, it's not hard to do in Lightroom or any other software that has that feature. For you guys to take out of it is that you can use vintage lenses for traveling, for landscapes, if you're using a tripod, for you know, things that everyone shoots with the new and the shiny. You can use a vintage lens and save some money. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. We're gonna have that giveaway at 1000 subscribers, and we're getting there slowly but surely. And we have already a few items that I am thinking about giving up. Nonetheless, stay with me and keep subscribing and give these videos a thumbs up. Again, it's super important, and I will definitely see you in a bit.